Lara Casper counted her steps in the pre-dawn hush of Kreuzberg, kicking aside crushed cigarette packs and film canister lids that glittered like mica in the gutter. The damp May air tasted faintly of exhaust and jasmine. 2 weeks of work, 36 cans of paint, and a ladder's worth of vertigo had culminated in her latest mural. 8-meter splash of ultraviolet nebulae spiraling from the ribcage of a dancing girl. She hadn't bothered to photograph it the night before. The work still felt too raw, too wet in her mind. She wanted morning light on it first. But as she rounded the corner onto Gorlitzer Strasse, the back wall of the derelict cigarette factory came into view, and Lara stopped short. Someone had vandalized her mural. Cleanly, surgically. In the center of the dancer's sternum, a matte black square, the size of an album cover and composed of tiny printed modules, disrupted the aurora of color. A QR code. The edges were razor straight, not spray-painted, suggesting adhesive vinyl. It wasn't the usual drunken scribble of a gang tag. Someone had come with a plan. Anger flared, then curiosity layered over it. She raised her phone, tapped the camera and framed the code. A link resolved. Hydrovsa / Hydrov Gjov AHSGXY. No flashy hacker graphics, no obscene slogans, just a nondescript URL. She hovered a thumb over it, paused, and remembered the conversation she'd overheard last week between her upstairs neighbor, Herr Richter, and the grocer. You'd be surprised how often the simplest bait hooks the hungriest fish. The old man had fought in Balkan's clandestine operations. Rumor said he'd unseated a dictator with a briefcase and a fountain pen. Lara swallowed, clicked the link, and waited for the page to load. The screen went white, flickered, then filled with a single PDF icon labeled Chronos Level 4, Eyes Only. Her phone buzzed a second later with a permissions prompt. Download failed. File classified. Access restricted. That alone startled her. The message resembled something you'd see on an internal government tablet, not a public site. She backed out, heartbeat racing. Whoever pressed that QR code onto her artwork wanted someone, anyone, to notice it. And they'd picked her wall, her name, to carry the Trojan horse. Footsteps scuffed gravel behind her. Lara spun, heart banging. Only a dog walker, leash taut, moving on. Yet the morning felt thinner now, hollowed out by unseen eyes. She pocketed the phone and jogged the 3 blocks home. Herr Gustav Richter lived across the courtyard from her 4th-floor studio. He was 73, silver-haired and mechanically precise. He watered his bonsai at 6, practiced Italian at 7, and sipped Riesling on his balcony at 8. He never discussed the past, but embassy envelopes showed up in his mailbox, and once a year a stern woman in a charcoal suit delivered an unmarked case he signed for without comment. At 7:30, Lara knocked. The door opened instantly, as if he'd been waiting. Fräulein Casper, he said in a voice both courteous and mildly amused. Coffee? I need a favor more than caffeine. She slipped inside, relaying the discovery while he filled 2 porcelain cups. Gustav listened, eyes narrowed but still gentle. A cure dead drop on street art, he murmured when she finished. Very 2020s. And the file's label Chronos, not familiar? He tapped his temple. But classification phrasing indicates Bundesnachrichtendienst. Their internal network rejects outside pulls normally. Someone replicated the error message to spook the average onlooker. Effective camouflage. But why my mural? Why publicize anything classified? Perhaps not to publicize. Gustav said, moving to a bookshelf and sliding out a slim volume of Rilke. From behind, the poem-lined flyleaf, he retrieved a wafer-thin laptop. Perhaps to signal a specific reader, one who knows where to look. He powered up, connected through an onion-layered VPN so intricate it seemed to tie itself into C-knots, then nodded for her to hold her phone over the webcam. The QR popped. He redirected the link through spoofed BND credentials. After a tense minute, the PDF unlocked. Gustav's brows tilted downward as he scanned the opening page. Yes, he breathed, a word she'd never heard him utter. These are operational files on a program codenamed Kronos. Signals, intercepts, budget ledgers, locations. He looked up. It lists a covert detention site, here in Brandenburg, off books. The program ended 3 years ago, but the archive is intact. Lara leaned in. Someone wants this out. They used my wall because I'm visible in the city's art blogs. A built-in amplifier. Or they intend to burn you as misdirection, Gustav corrected. He closed the laptop. We must assume whoever planted the code will monitor for downloads. You've pinged the file once. That already flags you. The room swayed slightly. She steadied herself on a bookshelf. What do we do? We manage the narrative before it manages you, he said, a spark lighting the sea-colored irises that had once cowed foreign ministers. If the file is genuine, it belongs in safe hands, and you require insulation. That calls for both art and tradecraft. Gustav's plan unspooled over 3 espresso refills. First, replicate the file to insulated drives. Second, verify authenticity through a trusted journalist. Third, signal the original leaker to meet, using the very mural as the stage. Street art thrives on revision, Gustav said. We'll add another layer, invisible to casual viewers, obvious to trained eyes. By noon, they had a makeshift command post in Lara's studio. Polaroid snapshots of the mural, printouts of the Cronus Index, and a blown-up map of Berlin coloured with neon sharpies. Gustav's hands moved with a pickpocket's delicacy, gliding pins into cork, skimming red threads from spool to tack. Lara matches energy with colour swatches and aerosol canisters, composing visual codes in her head. Tonight we repaint, she said. I'll incorporate a steganographic overlay, abstract shapes in infrared pigment that only show under filtered phone cameras. A set of coordinates and a time. Whoever added the QR will check back. When they scan, they'll find our reply. And while we wait, Gustav added, I'll contact an old colleague at Der Spiegel. We'll meet on neutral turf. Despite adrenaline, dusk arrived sluggishly. Lara donned a hoodie, loaded backpack straps with cans, nozzles, and a thermal camera. Gustav, wrapped in a charcoal peacoat that straightened his spine by memory, carried lookout gear, miniature periscopes, a police band scanner, and the sort of pocket umbrella that conceals a fiber-optic mic. Old habits, he said when she arched a brow. At 2300 vertical, Surterskaffer slept under sodium vapor lamps. The black vinyl cure still glared from the dancer's chest. In its cold geometry, Lara saw defiance of control, of secrecy. She clipped new nozzles, heart-drumming syncopated rhythms, and began spraying arcs of midnight blue that appeared decorative but followed a Fibonacci spiral. Within the curves she dabbed tiny triangles of near-infrared paint coordinates for an abandoned S-Bahn tunnel near Warschau-Brücke tomorrow. 300. Gustav stood 30 meters off, posing as an old man pacing to relieve sciatica. Through an earpiece he narrated, 2 civilians approaching West End, couples likely drunk, no tales so far, continue. She finished after 40 minutes. The dancer now seemed to breathe, her outspread hands cupping stardust, and only a specialist with the right filter would see the invitation lace through her torso. Lara stepped back, toasted the piece silently, and they melted away. Back at the studio, they found an encrypted reply from Der Spiegel's Silk Markart. Meet 9 o'clock, Prinzessinnen geturnen Kaffee. Safe enough. Gustav set a silent alarm. Lara tried sketching to bleed off jitters, but fell asleep at the desk. Morning arrived with police sirens. Lara jolted, thinking of the mural, but the sound receded toward Cottbusser Tor. She and Gustav parted, she to the cafe, he to keep overwatch. Silke Markart appeared as a weather-chapped woman in a rust coat, eyes sharp behind round lenses. Lara slid a USB across the table. We need verification and responsible exposure, she said, reciting the line Gustav drilled. If this is legit, you publish with legal shielding before the state spins it. Silke plugged the USB into a tablet and browsed thumbnails. Her nostrils flared. Jesus, where did you— Off the grid, Lara interrupted. Can you authenticate? I'll have digital forensics on it by tonight, Silke said. Assuming no black bag team snatches me first. Lara left through the back to avoid watchers. Gustav rendezvoused near a currywurst stand. How did play? He asked. She's on board. Lara exhaled steam in the chilly daylight. What now? Now we meet our anonymous street critic. He consulted his Breitling. Tunnel in 15 hours. Those hours stretched elastic. Afternoon news blared about an unknown guerrilla art modification in Kreutzberg containing an allegedly dangerous link. The police considered removing it. Bloggers claimed it triggered malware. Lara's phone buzzed non-stop. She ignored them, focusing on prepping for the night. Infrared goggles, respirator, gloves. Gustav cleaned a decades-old Walther PPK, then tucked it into a violin case lined with foam cutouts, alongside a compact camera and a flask of peppermint schnapps. At 2:40, they climbed down rubble-choked stairs into the disused S-Bahn tunnel, shocked beneath Warschauerstraße. Rusted rails vanished into darkness like liquefied iron. Water dripped rhythmic metronomes, their headlamps carved cones of dust through the black. Stop, Gustav said softly. 50 paces ahead, a cone of violet glow emanated from a phone aimed at the tunnel wall, someone scanning. The figure stood half hidden by a pillar, hood up. Lara's pulse stuttered. Gustav whispered, "Keep distance, let me speak first." He advanced, hands visible, voice calm. "You added the QR to Kasper's mural?" The hood turned. A woman's voice, accented Bavarian, met them. "I needed a billboard." Her piece had eyes on it already. She stepped into their lamplight, young, early 30s, cheekbones smudged with soot. Around her neck hung a lanyard with a Bundesnachrichtendienst badge. The photo matched. Lara inhaled sharply. Gustav's posture stiffened. "Field agent," he said. "Why'd leak your own services files?" She flicked bitter eyes at them. "Because Kronos killed my brother. They said he'd turned terrorist, but he was whistleblowing as well. They erased him in that Brandenburg black site. I found the archive while tracing his disappearance." She produced another flash drive. "There's more unundracted footage. You give it to press, or they'll scrub it." "Why include us?" Lara asked. "Your art is viral. It's my amplifier." The agent's gaze swung to Gustav. "And you, Herr Oberstleutnant AD, know how to survive storms." Recognition crossed Gustav's features. "You know me." "My brother apprenticed under your methods." Her voice cracked. "He said you taught ethics in shadows." Lara's breath caught. Gustav never spoke of pupils. The old spy's eyes glazed with regrets unsaid, but he nodded once. "We'll finish what he began." Footsteps echoed from the tunnel mouth. Multiple, rapid. Flashlights cut white scars across walls. Gustav hissed, "Run!" They sprinted, ducking beneath rusted signal boxes. A voice barked, "Bundespolizei, halt!" Gunmetal clanged as someone chambered around. Lara's lungs blazed. Ahead, a ventilation shaft steeply angled toward an alley grate. Gustav boosted her up, then the agent. He followed, groaning under the strain. Shots ricocheted, sending sparks. They toppled into a courtyard behind a shuttered club, hearts pounding thunder. Sirens dopplered closer. Gustav seized their arms. "Split! Rendezvous fallback, Charlie. My flat. 30 minutes." Lara ran, hood drawn, weaving through trash-lined side streets until the night opened onto the spree. She crossed a footbridge, doubling back twice to shake tails, then climbed stairs to her building just as dawn-tinged rooftops rose. Gold. Inside Gustav's flat, blinds down, the retired spy stitched a bleeding graze across his forearm while the agent Katya, she'd introduced herself en route, set up a wireless hotspot shielded by onion routers. Lara paced amid bonsai. Katya transferred video from her drive. Scenes emerged. Interrogation cells, anonymous men in tactical black, a hooded prisoner screaming, time stamped 18 months ago. Her face tilted toward the camera and froze. Katya's breath stopped. Lara realized she was looking at the brother. The feed cut after a muzzle flash. Silence reigned. Then Gustav, voice ragged, said, "We can't rely on a single outlet. They could gag Der Spiegel. We need redundancy, simultaneous drop across networks impossible to contain." He looked at Lara. "Your mural gets a worldwide audience tonight. But the police may paint over it today," she replied. "Then we move faster." Gustav opened a closet. Inside hung an immaculate painter's jumpsuit, parachute silk squares, and 2 drones the size of cereal boxes. He handed one to Katya. "Broadcast nodes will project the footage onto the mural looped with download links. Thousands of phones will scrape it before authorities arrive." They worked feverishly. Lara redesigned the mural overlay. The dancers' arms would now unfurl into wings, each feather a frame from the video, spiraling toward the QR. Spectators wouldn't see moving images without their phones. Once scanned, devices would auto-demonstrate a compressed torrent, seeded by hundreds of microservers Katya activated. At 19 o'clock, they rolled out in Gustav's battered Mini Cooper, trunk rattling with paint packs, projectors, tripods, and the drones. Traffic snarled near Cottbusser Tor but camouflaged their route. Twilight fell. They parked 2 streets away and slipped into alley shadows. A surprise awaited. The city had fenced off the mural zone, floodlights glaring, a municipal cherry-picker poised to whitewash the wall. 2 uniformed officers lounged nearby, discussing football. Gustav appraised the scene coolly. Diversion. He unzipped the violin case, revealing not the Walther, but a compact sound cannon built for embassy crowd control. Ear splitting at close range. "We'll trigger it up street. While they investigate, we reclaim the wall." Katya smiled darkly. "Your ethics have borders, but your toolbox doesn't." He shrugged. "Old soldiers are magpies." They positioned the device on a rooftop duct aimed down the street, timer set to 30 seconds. Then they sprinted back toward the mural, flattened against stacked pallets until the blast hit like an invisible tsunami. A low-frequency roar rattled windows and stomach linings. The officers staggered, palms over ears, dropping sunglasses. They raced toward the source, radios crackling. Lara vaulted the fence first, landing in loose gravel. Gustav and Katja hauled gear through gaps. She painted with manic speed, rolling azure across blankety primer the city had already begun applying. Drone propellers whirred as Gustav launched them. Luminous beams fanned open, projecting the video across curing paint in ghostly monochrome. Katya routed mini routers into drain pipes, LEDs blinking. Within 6 minutes, the dancer wore wings of flickering testimony. The QR glowed at her breastbone like a wound. Gustav signaled, and both drones peeled upward, hovering at 40 meters, broadcasting Wi-Fi network IDs. Kronos_never_dies. Phones in radius buzzed with open hotspot invites. Pedestrians gathered, recording, shouting. The first downloads commenced. Sirens screamed. A second wave of units. Lara added finishing strokes even as a bullhorn ordered, "Cease unlawful activity." Gustav tugged her back. They slipped through the fence's far corner into swelling crowds. News vans wheeled in, cameras rolling, streaming the spectacle live before police could corral civilians. By the time officers cut drone tethers, the torrent file had seated to 12,000 devices. Uncontainable. In the chaos, Katya vanished. Lara and Gustav merged into onlookers, faces washed in strobe lights from camera flashes. Helicopters thudded overhead, and then, over loudspeakers from a nearby rooftop, Silke Marquardt's voice broadcast, reading the first paragraphs of her article. "Tonight, Der Spiegel confirms the existence of an illegal detention program run by the BND under the codename Kronos. The crowd erupted in overlapping reaction: shock, fury, triumph. Gustav's hand found Lara's. "It's out," he said, tears brightening the corners of tired eyes. "No vault can swallow it now." Days passed like fever dreams. Politicians sputtered denials until judiciary inquiries ignited. International papers ran full spreads. Allies demanded accountability. The mural, draped hastily by the city, became pilgrimage ground. Lara awoke to find her Instagram soared from 20,000 followers to 2.3 million. She disabled comments and retreated to brush, canvas, and silence. Atya resurfaced through an encrypted message: "Safe hum south. Tell the artist her wings carried him." Attached was a photo of her brother, younger, laughing beside a backyard grill. Lara saved it to an offline drive. On an evening flushed with orange light, she joined Gustav on his balcony. Below, Kreuzberg buzzed with cyclists and chatter. But up here, cicada hum, and the faint clink of Gustav's Riesling glasses ruled. He raised one toward her. "To colors truthful enough to wound," he said. She clinked back. "And to shadows that choose the sun." They sipped. Across the courtyard, a patch of bare wall beckoned, blank, begging. Lara pictured cascades of pigment exploding into a phoenix. She felt Gustav's silent approval, and something lifted from her chest, fear perhaps, or the idea that murals were only art and never acts of war. The city exhaled. Somewhere a can hissed open, pressure escaping, as inevitable as secrets longing for air.